Hello everyone, this is GenerateSquid, and today I'm going to talk about what are, in my opinion, the viable tanks and what aren't the viable tanks. So I'm going to compare the tanks to each other and then draw my conclusion based on my gameplay and what I feel like is the most viable options. So Protection Warrior, Guardian Druid is like, you know that I haven't played those a lot. I've played them like one day each, and it didn't feel that great to me. And I played against the Protection Warrior, my Beastmaster Hunter recently, but the way we beat that one was just killing their DPS, and then just finishing off the Protection Warrior afterwards. So that sort of feels like the Blood Dead Knight and the Avenged Demon Hunter. So the reason why I talk about the Blood Dead Knight and Avenged Demon Hunter now is because the Blood Dead Knight and Avenged Demon Hunter are, in my opinion, not viable. The reason why Vengeance Demon Hunter is sadly not viable anymore is because they removed the sheer talent. And with the sheer talent I mean that when you cast sheer you dash towards the target, if you're close enough obviously. But that has proven to be such a big hit for your stick potential and your damage on people. Not to mention like that you're just sitting on their face all the time and you're just like, oh my god, there's someone attacking me all the time. It's like they can actually kite you very efficiently now. It's like you have your Infernal Leap, but that's only 2 charges and it doesn't really offer that much as you would hope it would. So yeah, Vengeance Demon Hunter, and it's like they also nerf the damage a little bit, and that doesn't feel that great either. It's like since you lost that stick potential, it feels like your damage isn't there well enough anymore. And then Blood Dead Knight, that hard strike talent being nerfed, that is just such a devastating blow for the Dead Knight. Because sure, they never had the mobility, but the thing that Dead Knight had was a fuck ton of damage. And because they removed that talent, you lose a lot of damage, because you now have to spend runes on hard strike. And if you do it, you do 10% damage to yourself. So, with 10% of your HP to yourself. Well, same thing. So, what does that mean? Well, 1 versus 2, you can't do that anymore because you will just kill yourself because of, yeah, you do 10% damage extra to yourself when you cast that spell. You can't really, like, you have to use runes on hard strike for damage instead of using them just on Marrow Rend to get your stacks up for Bone Shield. So, yeah, it doesn't really feel that, it's like they just made Dead Knight really clunky in PvP. It's like in PvE it doesn't really matter per se because you don't have that talent there anyway. So for me, it's like those two classes just don't float my boat anymore. Dead Knight damage has been nerfed into oblivion. Demon Hunter mobility got nerfed, damage got also nerfed a little bit. And it's like I was hoping for them to not change them so radically, but Blizzard saw that it was too broken. Apparently they opted for like, okay, let's make them more battleground focused as before. And it's like what they just do to you when you play Vengeance Demon Hunter and Blood Dead Knight, that they just kill your tank. And then after they killed your tank, they just kill you. It's like you can't really handle 1 versus 2 anymore. But that brings me to the other 2 tanks that I've played. Protection Paladin and Brewmaster Monk. So I'm a bit divided on which one is the most viable. Because those 2 are viable in my opinion. I feel like that they're viable. At least in like this random arenas. It's like if you have more coordinated arenas, you probably get more out of the classes if you play it right. And then I'd say you get more out of the Protection Paladin. Because the Protection Paladin can shield and sacrifice the DPS. So you can keep your DPS alive longer. That said, the difference between Monk and Paladin is that the Monk itself is a lot stronger. You still have the self-healing that make tanks really annoying at the start of like the beta. And you still do plenty damage. So there's like a line here now. It's like there's division. It's like you have on the one side you have Monk, who is the better tank individually. So individually you are a better tank than the Protection Paladin. You do more damage, you self-heal more, you have more stick potential because of your rolls. It's like you can just roll after people if they try to kite you. Protection Paladin can do that too with the Steed. But the Steed has a lot longer cooldown. And it just has a lot longer cooldown and isn't as effective in catching people if they just run the other way because you have to turn around and blah blah whatever. It's the same with Monk actually, but the Monk has 3 stacks of the roll, whereas the Paladin can just use the steed every now and then. So you have better cash potential, do more damage, you self-heal better. So in that sense, Monk is individually the better tank. If you have a good DPS with the Monk, then you can just like go ham. Because if they focus you, then they lose, and if they focus the DPS needs to just stay alive, and you can still do enough DPS as well. But this is where I'm like divided, because Protection Paladin is technically in coordinated arena better, because you can keep your DPS alive longer than the Monk. If you get CC'd properly as a Monk, then you can't get out of it and like save your DPS as good as a Protection Paladin can. A Protection Paladin can bubble, then bubble the DPS, so there's 2 bubbles active, and you can still damage them back. So in that sense, in coordinated arena, probably Protection Paladin is better. But if you need to carry someone and you still want to play a tank, then Brewmaster Monk is better, because Brewmaster Monk itself does more damage, more mobility, better survivability. So like on all those fronts, Monk scores better. But if you play coordinated, then Protection Paladin is better, because you can keep people alive a lot longer, and that compensates for that you do less damage and you're less dangerous than the Monk. So yes, Paladin's taken a massive hit because they also lost the dash talent, like Vengeance Demon Hunter lost the dash talent. So you lost a lot of mobility on that, but you can compensate with your steed and with keeping your DPS alive for a lot longer. So yeah, both Monk and Protection Paladin are viable. It's just a question of which one is the better one. It's like I'd feel Monk is the better one in, like, if you try to carry someone, or like Battlegrounds, whatever. Let's take Battlegrounds as well into it, so add like another factor, like another criteria to see which one is better. I'd say in Battlegrounds Monk scores better because you can self-heal a lot better, you do more damage, you have more mobility. But in 2 vs 2 and 3 vs 3 and 3 vs 3 I'm not really that sure. But in 2 vs 2 at least, Protection Paladin plays a lot better. It's just simple. It's just, you can just keep your DPS alive longer. And if you coordinate it well, you can keep your DPS alive for so long that people are just gonna eventually well, not eventually, they're just gonna die. Because say you play with like a mage or something, you first bubble your mage with like the physical reduction, ignore, or the, if you talented the magical one. Then you just bubble your mage, for example, and it stays alive. And you, in the meanwhile, still keep on damaging them, and the mage keeps damaging them. And then, if the mage like gets lower and lower, they can just ice block. And meanwhile, while that is happening, and they're focusing your DPS, you can still damage them. So in that sense, that's how I imagine Protection Paladin potentially being better. And yeah, that's pretty much what I feel about that situation. So I'd say if you want to play a tank in PvP, in general, if you're just not playing that much with other people, or you just play occasionally with other people, so you're not really played into each other that well, then Monk is better and more fun to play. But if you're like really coordinated and you want to play the most optimal if coordinated, then probably Paladin. So yeah, sad to say, but in my opinion, out of the 6 tanks that I've played, only 2 are viable, which are the Protection Paladin and the Brewmaster Monk. That Knight is like damage go like rip. Vengeance Demon Hunter, it's like you have no sticking potential, you're just running after people all the time if they decide to kite you. That being said, like they will always destroy melees, apart from like the Monk probably, because the Monk can run away really easily from you, but and self-heal. Maybe Paladin too, actually, now that I think about it, but that's more also because self-healing. Like hybrids, they might have a problem with, but like a rogue or a warrior, for example, they have no fucking chance against a tank. Or any tank. They just die. So there's 4 tanks that are not really that viable in Arena. And there's 2 that are. So my conclusion here is like, if you want to play tank in Legion Beta, in Legion, then you need to play either a Brewmaster Monk or a Protection Paladin at the current state of the game. Like the current state of the game, I only feel like those 2 classes are viable. It's like I don't really feel the other ones are viable, and that's a real shame, because my main is a Dead Knight, and I love playing Blood Dead Knight. And it saddens me that Blood Dead Knight isn't viable, but yeah, it's like, what are you gonna do? It's like, this is how Blizzard wants the game to be, and maybe they want to change Monk a bit in PvP because there's still a bit, like, if you look at that one video where I have like 30 minutes of eating, it's a little bit too much. But yeah, it's just how it is. It's like, it's sad that the tanks aren't as OP as they used to, because that was really fun to play. But and it might be a disappointment for those people. It's like, I saw many disappointing reactions on, like, for example, in the Blood Dead Knight, on the Blood Dead Knight video, and it's like, I agree. It's kind of like sad for people who want to play tank in PvP, but I feel like Blizzard just wants tanks to be battleground, like rated battleground or PvE, and not so much in arenas. That's what I feel like at the moment, at least. And it's a bit sad, but yeah. Double Blood DK was a thing back then that wasn't really that fun to play against, so I understand at on one side. It's like purely from fun and like diversity. I'd like to see, well, actually not diversity, because if you would have tanks so OP, everyone would just play tanks. So yeah, conclusion again, 2 viable tanks in my opinion: Protection Paladin and Brewmaster Monk, and the other 4 are not that viable. It's like they can work occasionally, but you most of the time just feel powerless and watch your DPS die, and then you die. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video and you got something out of it, and I feel for the people who want to play the other 4 tanks, but me being one of them. But yeah, these 2 tanks are in my opinion the viable ones now, and with that I'll end the video and I'll talk to you guys the next time.